Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil. Today I get the privilege again of sitting down with a really good friend of mine. His name's Garrett. Now, Garrett is one of these type of people, if you knew him face to face and you got to know him, you would realize he is probably the world's biggest skeptic. That's right. He doesn't just easily believe stuff. But today he's going to tell you about the dramatic transformation that took place when he had an encounter of his own. Are you ready? 'Cause you know I am. Let's go.
Hey, come take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil, back with another episode. And I know it's probably maybe a theme or a pattern, but I like interviewing people I already know. So maybe one day I'll interview somebody I don't know so very well. So I'm going to introduce this guy to you. His name's Garrett. I've known Garrett for a really long time. We've worked together at our current employer. We're actually sitting on top of the 4-story building. For you, those that are here locally will know where I am. We'll just leave that as a mystery. But I'm sitting on top of the 4-story building of our building, sitting on the balcony, freezing today. A little chilly in Medford, but anyway. So without further ado, Garrett, just give me like a nutshell of you.
Okay. A nutshell of me. I'm just kind of an all-around nerd, nice guy, Christian, saved and baptized as of, it was 2017, but I don't remember. Summer of 2017. Hard worker, kooky. How do you describe yourself?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I always leave it to other people.
That seems like a really big rock to throw into the water.
Well,
describe yourself.
That's probably a boulder if I had to do it my own self. So the point of my podcast, Garrett, is walking in someone else's shoes, right? Coming up with this idea, this premise behind it was the idea that I'm going to hopefully through this experience kind of see what it feels like to walk where they've walked, experience what they've experienced, and hopefully walk away with a different perspective on life. Okay. So you mentioned in your kind of introduction of yourself that you're a Christian.
Yes.
And so that is what I want to explore into is this whole Christianity thing. Now, when you think of faith, and this leads into our first question, how would you define faith?
Faith is the personal knowledge of a truth that not necessarily everyone agrees with. It's something that you know to be true, though you can't prove it. And that is kind of what faith is in a nutshell.
And would that description describe you?
Faithful? Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've been going through a big thing with just kind of giving things over to God and trusting Him to do my due diligence, to do what God wants me to do and expects me to do, and expecting Him to hold up His end of the bargain and, what's the word I'm looking for? Follow through. So.
Okay. All right. So why did you make this choice to believe in Jesus?
That's interesting because I went to a Christian school when I was young.
Okay.
And I was saved and baptized back then. But it didn't really mean much because I did it out of emulation of my parents. So when thinking about faith with Jesus, we could scientifically prove Jesus was a person on the planet.
There are historical records that speak to that.
Exactly. There's records of his crucifixion, so on and so forth. But to believe that he's the Son of the God, I like to look at Luke a lot because Luke is
referring to the Gospel of Luke.
The Gospel of Luke, yes. Okay. The book of Luke in the Bible is written by a scientist, and it's basically a documentary of Jesus' life. It's all eyewitness accounts. It's all going through there, and all those things are pretty much corroborated by other Roman officials, Roman documents, because of Roman occupation of Israel and Galilee. So for that just reinforces it. And, I don't know how to describe the light switch moment. where you sit there and you go from, okay, this all makes sense, to it becomes a heart switch. You know it in your heart to be truth.
I guess that's what I'm after, is that light switch moment. That moment where speculation becomes reality, where, and I know it's very similar, skepticism becomes, no, that's now fact for you. Do you have that moment? Or close to it, perhaps?
See, I feel like it's odd because I always knew that, since I went to church as a youngster, that Jesus was the Son of God. That was always just knowledge to me. But there's a difference when it becomes a heart truth, when you accept it into your heart. And that happened to me in Don's office, pastor of New Beginnings Church. I was sitting there and we were talking back and forth, and when I understood what being saved was, and the promise, the covenant, which baptism is, when I got resaved, or actually saved for the first time, because the first time was out of emulation, wasn't out of heart, you could feel all those burdens. I described it as a chain around my heart. Everyone walks around with a chain on their heart. They walk around with all their baggage, all the things that they've carried, all the things that are their fault and their responsibility. And when you have that heart change, when you accept Christ into your life and he forgives you of your sins, that chain loosens and it starts to fall away. For me, it felt like it fell all away at once, though I realized later there's more and more stuff I need to let go of and need to accept and give over to God. And it's been a process, but that moment right there where I understood that he died for me, and that there's nothing I could do to earn the right to go into heaven. There's nothing, it's just a miraculous gift that you can accept, and when you accept it, you're accepting him to be your Lord over you. So you're giving your life over. And that was the big thing, the big change and realization that came with the emotional heart loosening from the chains.
So Garrett, why do you think people in general have so many hang-ups when it comes to God, Jesus, an entity of a higher power, we'll say? Why do you think there's so many hang-ups?
Oh, well, because people suck in general. I mean...
well, they do. There are a lot of mean people out there.
To narrow it more down...
to funnel it down, sure,
yeah.
They suck. Okay, good.
No. To narrow it down further, the reason why most people don't have a faith in a higher being, or faith in an idea instead of an idea of a being, is because since people are liars, generally, untruthful, hurtful, because people are people, we're selfish, we're sinful creatures. Because of that, why would someone trust whatever created us? Why would someone trust anything, considering anything of intelligence has backstabbed them and hurt them on this earthly plane? My mom is a great example. I'm going to bring her into this, which means she ain't going to listen to the podcast. At least not yet, not until she's heart ready. She's had a physical condition for the last 20, almost 25 years, where she's physically hurt, and every emotional bridge she's built has been broken, including churches. So she understands that people are hurtful and that there's no way to get around it, but she doesn't realize that we still need community and love. And that's something that I think the more, I say Christian with quotations, the more Christian point of view is that we should understand that people are going to fail, but Jesus doesn't. And that we need community to be able to be one another, build each other up. And my mom has separated herself out from that entirely. And it's more of an example of why people don't trust one another. And she's a prime example because she doesn't trust anyone other than close family. And even then, family hurts family. I mean, I'm sure you have a story of being hurt by other family members.
Oh, I do. Tons. So I tend to agree with you on that point of, I think that's why people have so much hang up with a God, a Jesus, whatever, we'll say. Because of that reason, because they expect this entity, we'll say, and I use that word very loosely, to say, well, that entity is just going to hurt me just like everyone else has. So why would I put faith in something that's just going to hurt me again? And I do. I think that's the biggest hang up people run into, at least in my experience. So,
and there's another point of if this greater entity created us, does it have ulterior motives? Like, people have ulterior motives.
good point. Yeah.
I mean, thinking of coworkers, why is this person coming over here and helping me out with this? What are they looking for? Are they looking for a bigger pat on the back from their employer?
What's the hidden agenda?
Exactly. And I feel a lot of people don't trust a higher power because of that. What would this higher power want with me? Where
Am I worthy enough?
am I worthy enough, or is it doing something for its own gains, and is it going to hurt me later?
Right. Okay. So, what is the hardest part about your belief?
The hardest part about my belief... Now, that's interesting, because I'm trying to think, is it the hardest part about following my belief, or the hardest thing for other people to get about my belief?
Let's make it about you personally. What's the hardest part about your belief? Not someone else's per se, but you personally. What's the hardest part about it?
My hardest part is that since I've been saved and baptized, I want to be the model of Christ, because as Christians, we're called to be Christ-like. And the hardest thing for me is sinful nature. And I feel like it's a constant failure, because as humans, we sin. Even just the carefree thought of, oh, yeah, I'm more attractive than that person. That carefree thought right there is just a sinful thought, because it's selfish, essentially. And the hardest thing for me about being a Christian is dealing with the fact that I'm going to continually fail. And it hurts to not be the best example I can, because I want more and more people to realize the truth and become Christians or Christ followers as well. And if I'm not that perfect example, I guess I'm holding myself way up to a pedestal and not allowing Jesus just to shine through me. So that's my biggest hang up.
Okay. So how have you found the Bible to be truth? The Bible, of course, if you're been born under a rock, or maybe you're not aware, but the Bible is what the Christians believe is their form of gospel, their form of truth, their form of good news. So how would you define that truth in the Bible, and what truths have you found?
It's interesting because
some people may look at it as a made-up storybook, as Aesop's fables, or a Disney movie. It's feel good. It's
not even that. Even that it's a
man-made creation,
metaphorical.
Yeah.
Or how much has it been changed over the years?
The Odyssey, with the Odysseus, and
yes.
Greek mythology and all of that. So, what truth have you found in that for yourself personally?
For myself personally, I struggled with. One of my big reasons for turning away from Christianity in my teenage years was, one, I was a stupid teenager, as most teenagers are.
Guilty.
But I sat there and I was asking my youth pastor at the time, how do I know that this is accurate? How many changes have we had? How many translations? Has it been mistranslated? What is this line versus this line? Why are there so many different versions? Why? Which are all excuses for, hey, you know what? I think that this is inaccurate. I don't like something in here. Or I won't like something in here. I have a fear of something in here. How can I get around it? And it wasn't until the Easter Sunday. So Neil, the man behind the microphone over here, invited me to Easter Sunday at his church one day. And with the help of a few other people from his church who were doing a little video thing, I decided to go. And Don's sermon wasn't entirely an Easter Sunday sermon. It was much more about the history and the actual proven history of it. And after listening to that, I was hooked. I wanted to know, okay, if he could prove what's in the Bible, I want to know more. And since
he being Don the pastor.
Don the pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And I started coming more and more, and the more and more Don preached, and then of course Kirk preached, and Jacob and a few other people, I learned there are a lot more truths in the Bible, and there's a lot more history. It became more of a history text than it did the idea of a theological document. And since it became more and more real, it cemented the idea that, oh, this isn't just a fable. This isn't just a story. This is a historical document and the Word of God. And if you have faith that there is a God and you believe that He wrote the Bible, you can't have faith, or you can't believe that God would allow the text to be corrupted in such a way that it would no longer be able to reach out. Whether it's the exact wording that it originally was, that may or may not matter, and that's something that I feel like every person does struggle with, but at the same time, they'll be able to meet their maker and ask eventually. Not to be darkish.
True. So why should others have faith in Jesus like you?
This is interesting because I have a friend who I play games with on the internet. He doesn't believe at all. He says religion is, one, the easy way to get friends. And it's a psychological break for a person to not be responsible for their actions. And there may be shreds of truth in there. I feel like it's kind of being taken out of context and misused. I think that other people should believe in Jesus because, well, God created us, Jesus created us, and he came down and sacrificed himself for us, and our lives are all given to him, more or less. We owe it to him to be able to provide for him, to spread the word. If the whole world was a bunch of Christians, I'm not going to say that it would be a better world, but we'd all be happy and see each other in heaven afterwards. And I kind of have this love for humanity I didn't have beforehand, that I know that they're going to mess up. I know that I'm going to mess up. I know that everyone's going to mess up, but there's that more of a lenience with people. I think more people would be happier, would be more forgiving, and I'm trying to think how to wrap that up. I think people would just be in a better place. Our civilization would be in a better place overall. I don't think we'd have as much reality TV either, but...
You've given a lot here, Garrett. Given us a lot of your perspective on this. Now, here's my question. Let's go back 5 years ago. How old were you at 5 years ago?
I was 29.
29. So you can do the math on how old Garrett is. I'm not going to do the math for you. You got a calculator there, or count on your fingers. 29, you said?
Mm-hmm.
What would 29-year-old Garrett think of Garrett now?
That's a good question. I think 29-year-old Garrett would not really care to know that the 34-year-old Garrett now, because there's no reason. He doesn't serve a purpose. When I was in my late 20s, I was very, if you don't serve a purpose in my life, you're done. I have no need for you.
Would you say you wrote people off?
Oh, constantly. But
okay.
I was also in the middle of betrayal from friends, betrayal from roommates. I had lost a job recently. I was putting myself in a darker and darker place to lick my wounds instead of, cleaning out the wounds and letting it heal properly. So, it was a lot about drinking and being stupid and being lonely.
Okay. So, you mentioned you came to Christ roughly about a year ago, 2 years ago now?
Almost 2 years. Yeah, a year and a half ago.
Almost a year and a half ago. So, you have $1 million in your bank account.
No.
Okay. You got married in that time frame too, right?
I did. Actually, the reason why we started going to church, the reason why I agreed to your gracious offer of coming to Sunday was because I thought my fiance at the time, Ashley, my loving wife now, she needed church to grow as a stronger person. So I was going to check it out and seeing if it was a good environment for her to grow.
Not for you, though.
No,
for her.
I didn't need it at the time.
Yeah, because you're good.
Because I was good.
You're good.
Yeah, no, totally wrong.
So no $1 million in the bank. Your marriage is completely perfect. No arguments.
I'm trying to think of how many good arguments we have a week. We're newlyweds, so it shouldn't be many, but
right.
I think we have 2 or 3 good arguments.
But do you hear the groundwork I'm laying here, right?
Yeah.
So your life, you've gotten raises at work, you've gotten promotions, you've gotten accolades, you're on the fast track to being the CEO of...
No,
none of that?
I don't think there's a best life now kind of philosophy in life, no matter what way you go.
So that's what I'm trying to ask, right? In my understanding, is so many people say, oh, well, when I become a Christian, which, by the way, only appears 3 times in the Bible.
Does it appear at all in the Bible?
3 times.
I didn't think it came up at all.
3 times.
Huh.
Yep. Mostly in Acts.
Oh,
but
that makes sense.
I will say this, that your life did change. But did you endure any hardships along the way, or was it all just unicorns and rainbows and fairies and you
asked
roses
me
every day?
You asked me earlier how I was feeling earlier before we came up here, and
pre-show. Yep.
You said, "How are you feeling?" I go, "I'm tired." You said, "You're always tired." I go, "I know, but at least I'm joyous on the inside. I'm peaceful."
So maybe speak to that. Was there always that peace there on the inside?
No. I mean, I've always trusted God ever since I knew what God was at the age of, I think, 9. Because before that, God was just an amorphous whatever. And then I started going to church. So I've always put my trust in God. I've always said, okay, whatever happens, it's God's choice. It's God's options. I leave it be in His hands. I'll do what I can. But I would always worry and stress over it. And this is where I guess faith comes back in. I can only do what I can do. And I got to trust, for one, that God will do what He does, and His choices are in my or the world's best interest. And 2, I can petition Him. I could pray and say, this is something that I want. I hope it's in lines with what You want. Please, Lord, change my heart to be more like Your heart. Please put me on a path more of what You would want me to do. And that's more or less what my prayers are. So has it been an easy road? No, there's been Ashley went to the hospital, I think it was 2 months ago, because she was having an allergic reaction. So now we have that bill sitting on her desk, talking about finances. We have another bill that just came in for dental work that needed to be done. I was out for 3 days because I had strep throat and I had a 104-degree temperature. So finances, yeah, they're a little bit rocky, but at the same time, we'll do what we can, and we'll trust that everything gets put into order.
Well, and again, I go back to this idea that, people say, well, when you come to the church or you come to Jesus or you come to this saving knowledge of who you are, your whole life just dramatically changes for the better and everything happens and it's all good and great. And no, you still walk outside. You still get wet when it rains.
Yeah, I mean, there is a honeymoon period where
sure.
Everything is wonderful, everything sparkles and rainbows, and the world. Yeah, sure, there's some bad things in the world, but you can overlook it. And as time goes by, that feeling of peace really never leaves. At least it hasn't really left me. There's been times where I'm like, Lord, I don't know what You're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Just give me a little bit of guidance. I need a little bit of encouragement. And then I just keep on troopering on. But at the same time, I know that no matter what happens, it's in His hands. It's in His design. I can only do what I can do for myself and for His kingdom. And hopefully more for His kingdom than myself.
29-year-old Garrett, how would he feel about those responses?
That's a delusional idiot. What is he saying? 29-year-old me was very... selfish and self-centered.
Okay. So maybe that's a little too far back. What about 30-year-old Garrett?
30-year-old Garrett?
Would he have thought this new Garrett, we'll say Garrett 3.0.
3.4.
3.4 is much better, or is he crazy?
I don't know. I was still a lot more pessimistic then than I am now. I guess without the idea that there's a place to go in the afterlife, without that being a motivation in your life and constantly on your mind, because I've become a leader in the church now, or a leader of sorts. I do a lot of tech ministries and help out. So it's in my daily life, being able to look at that and know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a heaven after life. It doesn't really matter what happens on this material plane. If a plane, an actual airplane, were to crash into this building right now, I would have no real regrets for my life. Just maybe wish I could have done a little bit more. So
my last question, then we're going to play a game, and it's a dice game, so you should really like that a lot.
I'm so good at dice games.
Yeah, it's a dice game, so you should like that. So last question.
Okay.
What did you have to give up to become, we'll say, a disciple of Jesus? What did you have to give up?
Well, the easy answer is I had to lose myself. But more specifically...
Still a great answer.
It is a great answer.
In my opinion.
Yeah, but...
My perspective, which doesn't have any weight or bearing on this podcast. But
to be more specific, I had to look at the way that I speak. I'm trying to give up cursing. I've given up alcohol almost entirely. Only now it's like on Thanksgiving I'll share a little bit of whiskey with the father-in-law. That was a huge thing to give up because I was on the track of being an alcoholic. And it's because of the love and respect I had for my future wife at the time and my responsibility for fulfilling the Great Commission, my commitment to Jesus. Sorry, getting over a cold.
That's okay.
Because of those two things, I had to give up alcohol because the alcohol doesn't give way to any kind of non-selfish activity.
So the church made you give up stuff?
Church, no. My commitment, my convictions.
Oh, okay.
I don't think the church actually came over and said, "Hey, don't do any of this."
So the church never put a mandate on you. Hey, you can't do this. Hey, you can't do that.
No.
Here's a list of expectations. The proverbial scroll rolls out of all the things you can't do and shouldn't do, and I mean, this is you making those choices.
This is me making those choices. I mean, you have the sermons and the concerned brothers and sisters in Christ who will sit there and say, you know what, I've noticed this behavior in you. Here's where I see in the text. Sermons are really good for that because they're usually broad topic and get everyone. But at the same time, you're never going to change with someone else coming over and telling you, hey, this is something that's in your life that shouldn't be in your life. You're only going to change when you have that conviction that I'm doing this for myself, for my God, or for my loved one, whether it be wife or husband. The only person who can change you is you, and that's the beauty and the curse of free will.
Okay, here we go. So we got a dice here, 1, and it's got the 6 numbers on it. It's a traditional white die. So I'm going to let you roll this, and then based on what you roll, you have to answer this question. And this game is called Senseless. So here we go.
3.
Number 3. I feel like you should roll again. Can you roll one more time? We've had a lot of 3s on the show.
Have we?
Yeah, we have. Well, yeah, I've had a lot of 3s. What
number have we had the least of?
Nobody's had 2 yet, and nobody's had 4. And nobody's had 5. So
let's go 2, 4, or 5. 4.
4. Yes. What is your favorite thing to hear?
My favorite thing to hear. Ooh, I don't even know.
There's got to be something.
There's so many things.
Right, I know.
I mean, since I'm such a movie nerd, I'm a nerd in general, but movie nerd. I love.
So it could be. I mean, it could be
the movie theater voice.
It could be a sound
this summer, coming to a theater near you. I love that voice.
Maybe I should have you voice
your intros
or something. That was good. Oh. Do that again. Do other people's shoes in that voice with your host Neil.
Today on Other People's Shoes with your host Neil, we are hosting Garrett Largy and his opinions on faith.
See, that's great. So, Garrett, thanks for coming on today. I know it's freezing out here. I've seen you shiver
a few times. What I love is I'm wondering if after everything's edited, can we hear the highway behind us?
I hope so.
I'm hoping a little bit.
A little bit.
I know that we'll hear at least one honk.
Maybe. So. I hope. We'll see. We'll see how good the editing team works on that. Intent editing team. So first off, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. You've given us an opportunity and a chance to kind of walk in your shoes, which is really the goal behind what I'm after, and I think we've accomplished that. So again, I just want to say thanks for coming on. Any last little bit of insight you want to have, or anything you want to close with on your end?
Other than thank you for having me on your show, and keep on believing. That sounds really lame.
It does sound a little lame. But I mean,
sounds like a Foreigner song.
If I know you don't really. I say, you don't have a business. You're not getting paid to be on here or anything like that. You're just a good friend, and you have been a good friend. And so maybe I'll close with this. Not maybe, I will. Garrett, you're one of those rare people that I've come across in my life, and I've met a fair amount of people, especially with a sales background and what I'm doing now, even the company we work for. So obviously I have a lot of interaction with a lot of different people. But I say that because in my mind, I invited you half-heartedly. I don't know if you know this.
I did not.
So we'll close with this story. Now we're at almost the 30-minute mark. So we'll close with this story. So being that I grew up in the church as well, a lot of what you said I loved, and a lot of what you said it really kind of made me think too. So thank you for that. But the thing that came to mind was I go back to that Easter prior to me inviting you, and us as a church being challenged to invite people. And you mentioned the video that Bob and Kirk did, and I was just trying to show them, in a sense, like, check the box, like, see, I'm doing a good job, I'm inviting people. Check. Look at that, I invited someone else. Check. It was kind of like that for me. And so when I invited you, I was just like, well, I guess I'll invite Garrett. But I never realized how powerful an invitation can be. And I guess that, to me, is what I learned, and the takeaway I got from us interacting together, is because when you started going and you started, being more involved, and then, upward branches and starts their own, ministry, and seeing and hearing from you and even other people. Yeah, I check on you because I'm a stalker.
Whatever.
For a living. Kind of gives you a hint on what I do. But anyway, so, but it's just this amazing thing that all it took was an invitation. And I guess that's what I would challenge people with today if they were going to leave with something. I don't often do this at the end of the podcast. Usually I let the guests speak, but it's my turn maybe on this one.
Well, I have a comment afterwards. So.
Okay, so fair enough. So you can close then. Is it just takes an invitation. So I don't know what faith you're in, and honestly, part of me cares, but part of me doesn't, because to me it's not about whether you believe in Jesus or not. It is, but it isn't. But an invitation into invite somebody into your life. Invite somebody in and ask them these questions. Perhaps maybe my questions or the questions of your own, but really invite somebody into your life, because here's the thing. What if, just off chance, what if by inviting that person in, you're now allowing that person into your life, but then you can help them as they help you?
I think that's a beautiful sentiment. My kind of counter thing to hearing all that, because a lot of that I didn't know, was...
You didn't, and that's why I shared.
One of the beautiful things is, whatever your intentions were, whether they were right, wrong, pure, impure, whatever they might have been, God used those intentions to bring not only myself but my wife to the church and to God. So it's just kind of miraculous to see how the Lord works and what He'll use, because He'll use anyone, and that's kind of a beautiful thing.
He will, and again, I would just add to that, just to say, you never know the impact you have on someone's life. And again, I would just challenge you, as you listen to this and as we close, invite somebody in to try on your shoes. They might smell. They might not even fit, right? They might not fit. They might not even be your style, right? Like, I love light blue. Like, everything about the color light blue, I love it. I love the sky for that reason. Every time I see light blue, I just get giddy inside. I know it sounds weird, but I do, right? I just love that color. I love to wear it. Anyway, but the shoe might not fit right. Cinderella, it might smell. There might be some baggage tied up with that person, and it might not even be your type of person that you like to be around. But what if? What if just by inviting them in, you might get a friend out of it, an even deeper friend? So, anyway, thank you again. Another episode of Other People's Shoes. We just want you to walk away with a different perspective as you walk in someone else's shoes.